Hello everyone, I'm John McCarthy, mixed martial arts official, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the new regulations that are coming to mixed martial arts with the new unified rules that have been adopted this year. In 2017, we're going to start by eliminating some of the rules that have been fouls in the past. Those being, first, as we look at it, heel kicks to the kidneys is now going to be legal in the sport of mixed martial arts. The old style of going into guard and not being able to do that heel kick is now going to be a legal act. You still, as an official, as a referee, you're still going to have to look and make sure that that heel kick doesn't hit the spine because the spine is still protected. But the actual act of kicking, where a lot of guys are doing it to the back on the buttocks, doing it to the back of the legs, back of the calf, they can also do it to the kidney area. That is now not a foul. We also have, when you look at one of the old rules of grabbing the clavicle. I know it's a silly rule. It was always something that never really took place, and it was in the fouls. No longer is it part of something that you have to look for. The whole thing of grabbing a clavicle, you still cannot twist, pinch the flesh, any of that, but taking your fingers, sticking them up on top there, that would not be a foul. That is no longer within the fouls. You can get rid of it. It's gone. Move on. One of the new fouls that we do have coming, it's part of the regulations, is a rule about extending our hands out with our fingers out towards our opponent's eyes. Got a lot of fighters that are now using their hand in a way to measure distance and actually put that hand in front of their opponent's face in a fashion that is creating a dangerous situation for the fighters because we get an eye poke. We don't want to have the eyes in any fashion injured during a fight. So now, if you have an individual that is taking their hand and placing it up and out in an extended fashion with the fingers towards their opponent's face, you as the official can actually stop the action and warn that offender that, hey, you needed to close their hand, or you can put your fingers up. You don't have to stop the action. You can do it while the action is going on if you wish, and just tell them, hey, close the hand, or put your fingers up. We want to get them used to not extending their fingers towards their opponent's face. If you have a situation where you have a repeated infraction of the fighter continually doing something in this fashion, and you have warned them several times, you are well within your rights to stop that action and to start taking points away from that fighter, or even go to the point of disqualification. The fighter must listen to what you're saying. If he's flagrantly disregarding your instructions, there is this rule now that is backing you up, saying that they cannot take their hands and extend them out towards their opponent's face. The one thing we want you to do is make sure open hands and being in close, they can have their hands in this fashion all they want. They can have their hand down low with their fingers pointed towards their opponent. It's only when they start to put it out and up towards their opponent's face that we want you to start doing something with this new rule. One of the things that's changing is what we have is the determination of what is a grounded fighter. For years now, we have been using basically the same concept of what a boxing official would use as saying that, you know what, anything more than the soles of the fighter's feet makes them a grounded fighter. Fighters were really smart, and they used that, and they took and started to actually put themselves in positions that you would look and say, well, that's not a beneficial position where they're at, and they put their little hand down, and it takes away the abilities of their opponent. What we've done is we've changed what is the actual interpretation of a grounded opponent. When we talk about a grounded opponent, when it comes to them being on their feet, if they're in the stand-up position and decide to put one hand down like they did in the past, they are not a grounded opponent. It would take, with only their feet on the ground, they would have to have both hands touch the ground to put themselves in a position where they're considered grounded by the official, and they cannot be kneed or kicked to the face. Now, this is a position you're going to have to work with and stuff, because there's other things that come into effect with this. If you have a fighter in this position where they start to put one hand down, there's differences of what can be done now than what could be done in the past. Obviously, they can be kneed or they can be kicked to the head. They can also have where they can get their hand stomped. Before in the past, once they put their hand down, They were no longer a standing opponent. They were grounded, and you could not stomp on a grounded fighter in any fashion, even including the foot. Well, now they can still stomp with that one hand down. They could stomp the foot, and they could still stomp the hand. But if they put both hands down, they are down. I want you to consider when you're looking at this, any other body part that touches the ground. You have a fighter, he's got both hands up and one knee is on the ground, he is a grounded fighter. You got a fighter who's got both hands up in the air and he's got his butt on the ground, he is a grounded fighter. You have a fighter that in any position has anything more than just his hands or feet in the ground, they are grounded and they cannot legally be kneed or kicked to the face under this rule. For a long time, we have had a judging criteria that came from 1999. I was one of the ones that wrote it, and I've always said for a long time, it's antiquated, it needs to be changed. Well, we're trying to change it for our judges now. What we're looking at doing and what we've done is we've tried to emphasize what's the important parts of the fight. It used to be that we had effective striking, effective grappling, aggression, and ring or cage control were the elements that we used to judge a fight. The problem is we had judges that were using all the elements on every fight. That no longer takes place. With the new judging criteria, there's a lot of things that have taken place, and I want to go over all of them so you understand me. First things first, there's only two elements that we want you to judge off of as far as your initial judging of the fight. That is striking and grappling. Those are the two elements that make a fight. If we don't have two fighters that are either striking or grappling, we got one looking aggressive or one trying to get, position in the cage, that's dancing, it's not fighting. There's only two elements that are the fight. The striking of the fight, the grappling in the fight. That's what we're looking at. That's what we want you to judge the effectiveness of who is the better at either one of those two elements. Obviously, if 90% of the round is striking, we want you to go with a heavy emphasis on the striking. If 90% of the round was on the ground with grappling, the heavier emphasis goes with the grappling. Who is doing the most to impact the fight and to bring a fight to the end? That's what we're looking for. A lot of people are going to look and say it's damage. We can say it's impact damage. We're looking at the word of impact as our most important element in you giving credit in the fight. When we look at punches and we're looking at blows, we have to make sure that we understand what are the heavier blows. Shoulder strikes compared to punches don't count. Shoulder strikes are not as good as the punches. Elbows are going to be heavy strikes. Knees are going to be heavier than the elbows. Kicks are going to be on top of that. Same thing with the knees, very heavy. We want you to look at what is the heavy elements landing and have power. We're looking for power that has a big impact on the fighter. This is not a game of numbers. If you are starting to give more credit to numbers over quality, we're making a mistake. If we have one fighter that's landed 6 jabs and we've got another fighter that's landed one beautiful right cross that hurt his opponent, that person with that one right cross is winning our fight. We want you to go off of who is doing the most to impact the end of this fight. Who is doing the things that is going to end this fight? That's what you're giving credit for. When it comes to the ground, same thing. We're going, who's going after submissions? Who is putting his opponent in dangerous positions where they have to defend to get themselves out? When we're looking at all of these elements, that's what's going to lead us into who is winning the fight. If we have one that we say, you know what, our striking and our grappling are just so close that I can't tell the difference between who's winning the round, now we're going to step ourselves down, and the first element we go to is, who was the fighter that was the most aggressive in the fight? Who was the fighter that was trying to be offensive? Who was the fighter that was trying to actually force the fight? That's your first element to go to. If you can't off of that say, I know who the winner of my round is, now you'll bring in ring or cage control. If you can't go off of ring or cage control and it's all even, you're going to have a 10-10 round. If you can separate those and say, you know what, off of this I can say my striking and grappling were even, but my aggressive fighter was in the blue corner, he wins the round 10-9. That's how we want you to start looking at things. When it comes to 10-8 rounds, we have a big variance, and there's 3 things that we want you to go off of. We go off of the 3 Ds. We try to change the first one to impact, but it's the 3 Ds of damage, domination, and now duration. The elements of those 3 Ds. Anytime that we have a fighter that's been damaged or hurt in the round, and we have a fighter that's been dominated in the round, you're probably looking at a 10-8 round. And we want you to start giving these rounds because that's what's going to separate the fight. A fighter deserves the 10-8, give them the 10-8. Don't be the person that's in the position where they're starting to say, well, I don't want to affect the fight because if I give the 10-8, then this person's going to have a hard time winning the round. Your job is to give them what they deserve for the round. And so give them that. It could be exactly the opposite in the next round. When we have damage and domination in that round, you're probably going to be looking at a 10-8 round. When we have just one of the elements, we just have damage, then I want you to look at how long is the duration of that damage. How effective was that damage? How much did that damage affect this fighter in this round for you to say, there wasn't enough for me to give him a 10-8, or yes, there was enough damage and it was a long enough duration that that fighter deserves a 10-8 based upon the type of damage he received and the duration that that damage affected him during that round. Same in reverse, we can have domination of the round, domination of positions, domination of everything that's going on in the fight, but no damage. Now we look at how long was the duration of that domination. When we look, we don't have to have someone being dominated for 5 minutes. We have to look and say, were they dominated enough in that fight for us to say that is a 10-8 round? When we have a fighter and everything is based upon positions, we have a fighter that's in guard. Guard's is even position for us, and we have, you know what, he's on top and he's staying on top. It's a long duration, but that's not domination we're looking for. We're looking for domination of the position. Domination of the position, he gets mount. That's a dominant position. I have mount, and I am working to get submissions, or I'm working to hit him with strikes, and he makes it through the round, but I was in mount for a good 3.5 minutes of the round. That's domination of position with duration. You're looking at a 10-8 round. Let's look at it if he gets the back. We get the back, we're trying to work for some chokes, we're trying to do all kinds of different things, and we're throwing shots at times, but the fighter survives. Understand that the fighter that survived for, we'll say that's 3.5 minutes, was ineffective offensively, and MMA is an offensive-based sport. You are giving credit for offensive actions, and if I have 3.5 minutes where I have no offense because I'm having to defend all these things, it's telling you domination and the duration of time, we're looking at a 10-8 round. These are the things that are coming up because we want you to think about what is a 10-9 round in MMA. 10-10 round is going to be a completely even round. 10-9 round is a close margin round, meaning one fighter wins it, but it can be very close. And we can even get marginal 10-9s. We can get pretty large as far as getting a good separation. But when we get to large margin, now we're looking at a 10-8 round. The unified rules is going to state that a 10-8 round is a large margin round. Big variance between the two fighters and what they did in that round. Now we get to 10-7, an overwhelming round. Overwhelming damage and domination in the round is what you're looking for. We're not going to get a lot of them. We don't get a lot of them because usually the referee's going to be stopping the fight. But we can have them, and you have to give that credit. So if we have a round where the fighter gets knocked down multiple times, he gets hurt. In that round, he gets dominated in position. With the domination and the amount of damage that's done, if you say it's overwhelming, we've now reached a 10-7 round. Hopefully this is going to help you with what we're looking for out of our new judging criteria, but realize the 2 things that we're really going off of: effective striking, effective grappling. Don't bring that aggression and that ringer cage control into play unless you say these 2 were completely even. Good luck.